On a seabed deeper than Mount Everest is tall. A submarine drone has scanned the Bismarck, long thought irretrievable, and uncovered a sealed chamber untouched for 84 years. Locked beneath 6,000 pounds per square inch of pressure. What could survive where only a handful of men did? New sonar data challenges decades of assumptions, and it ignites a debate. In chasing answers this deep, do we risk disturbing a grave? Or is today the day history gives up its last secret? A digital timestamp reads 2025 as the Asterion 3 drone begins its slow descent. The pressure at 4,800 meters is enough to flatten all but the most hardened machines, 6,000 pounds per square inch, more weight than a blue whale balanced on a dinner plate. The drone's lights barely cut the darkness, but sonar and photogrammetry sensors pulse outwards, mapping the wreck in slices finer than a human hair. Every ping and pixel is logged, time-stamped, and cross-checked against mission protocols. Operators in a control room hundreds of miles away monitor the feed in real time, eyes flicking between depth gauges and live scan overlays. On the display, the Bismarck's outline appears, armored plates shrouded in rusticles. The hull's scars are visible, long jagged tears and symmetrical holes, each a clue to the ship's violent end. Then, a new anomaly surfaces. The drone's sonar picks up a section of plating smoother than the rest, with microfractures forming a near-perfect boundary. The geometry suggests a void, an internal chamber sealed since 1941. No known expedition, from Ballard's 1989 discovery to the early 2000s submersible dives, ever reported a compartment like this. The engineering team replays the data. Sonar echoes return in patterns that do not match the rest of the ship, sharper, more contained, as if sound is bouncing off an empty box within the hull. Thermal imaging, limited at these depths, finds nothing unusual. No heat signatures, no electrical traces, just the persistent cold of the deep. The pressure here is absolute, the environment anoxic. Yet the chamber's boundaries remain crisp, unbreached by collapse or corrosion. Operators check mission logs against historical plans, confirming the location falls within the Bismarck's citadel, the armored heart designed to protect vital machinery and command spaces. Theories begin to circulate. Could the chamber contain original equipment, sealed documents, or even personal effects untouched by seawater? Or is it simply a trick of construction, a void preserved by chance? The drone holds position, its sensors sweeping for any sign of instability. No vibrations, no sediment clouds, just the low groan of currents moving through steel. The team debates their next step, aware that even a remote probe risks disturbing a site many consider sacred. For now, the chamber remains sealed, its contents hidden behind walls designed to withstand the war's worst violence and the ocean's relentless crush. If deep wrecks fascinate you like space anomalies, hit subscribe now for more Universe Earth mysteries on StellarInsights. The Bismarck's secrets are locked in a pressure vault, and with every scan, the line between history and myth grows thinner. The story of the Bismarck begins in the North Atlantic in May 1941. Just days after sinking HMS Hood with a single devastating salvo, the pride of the German Navy became the hunted. British warships and aircraft tracked the battleship across hundreds of miles, launching wave after wave of attacks. On May 26th, a torpedo from a swordfish biplane jammed the Bismarck's rudder, sealing her fate. The next morning, British battleships King George V and Rodney opened fire, pounding the Bismarck with more than 2,000 shells. Torpedoes from HMS Dorsetshire struck home as the battered ship began to list to port. By 10:39 a.m. on May 27th, the Bismarck slipped beneath the waves. Over 2,200 men had served aboard. Only 114 survived. The rest vanished into the cold, crushing dark, their names recorded in the final ship's log. Survivors described chaos, flooded compartments, burning decks, and the order to scuttle the ship rather than let her be captured. German engineers detonated charges deep inside the hull, opening valves and flooding the armored citadel. British accounts credited their torpedoes with the kill, but the truth was more complicated. The Bismarck's death was a collision of human will, steel, and the indifferent ocean. For decades, the wreck's location remained a mystery. Rumors swirled, and the Atlantic kept its secrets. Then, in June 1989, oceanographer Robert Ballard and his team found the Bismarck upright on the seafloor, nearly 3 miles down, deeper than Everest is tall. The wreck rested on the flank of an extinct undersea volcano, shrouded in darkness and bacterial rusticles. Early remotely operated vehicles sent back grainy images, the hull split by impact, gun turrets torn away. But the main citadel astonishingly intact. The swastika on the bow, long since stripped from the surface, still lingered in the deep's eternal night. The discovery transformed the Bismarck from wartime legend to an archaeological time capsule. Every detail, the twisted stern, the preserved armor belt, the debris field scattered across the abyss, became a puzzle piece. The ship's final moments could now be reconstructed not just from survivor testimony, but from the evidence left behind. Ballard's team mapped the wreck, noting the scars of torpedoes and the pattern of internal destruction. Yet even with cameras and sonar, the interior remained largely sealed, protected by thick armor and the ocean's relentless pressure. The Bismarck's resting place is more than a wreck. It is a war grave and a monument to the men lost in those final hours. The moral weight of exploring such a site shapes every decision, from the first grainy ROV footage to the high-resolution scans of today. With each new expedition, the line between honoring memory and uncovering history grows thinner. The questions left by the Bismarck's sinking about the nature of loss, the limits of technology, and the responsibility owed to the past still echo through the silent corridors of steel, waiting for answers in the dark. Multibeam photogrammetry scans sweep along the Bismarck's hull, translating battered steel into digital detail. Engineers pore over the data, tracing the geometry of every scar and rupture. The armor belt, once designed to shrug off the Royal Navy's biggest shells, now bears the evidence of the ship's final hours. Along the port side, jagged tears run for meters, edges curled inward, metal warped by forces that struck from outside. These are the unmistakable signatures of torpedo impacts, each one a violent entry point where seawater rushed in and pressure mounted. In other places, the story shifts. Near the base of the citadel, the scans reveal a pattern of nearly symmetrical holes, smaller, more precise than the torpedo gashes. The fracture lines radiate outward in a starburst, as if shaped by controlled blasts from within. Naval architects recognize these as the calling cards of scuttling charges, set by German engineers to ensure the Bismarck would never be captured. The placement and regularity of these scars match historical blueprints, confirming crew testimonies from 1941. Yet between these battle wounds, the citadel itself stands out. The armor here is over 300 millimeters thick, forged to protect engines, magazines, and command posts from anything the Atlantic could throw at it. Despite the devastation around it, the citadel's outer shell remains largely intact. No sign of collapse, no breach wide enough for the ocean to claim the inner compartments. Even after 84 years at nearly 6,000 psi, the boundaries of this core structure are sharp, the steel still holding its original lines. Engineers run stress simulations, layering scan data over wartime records. The results show that while the outer hull failed in predictable places, where torpedoes and shells struck hardest, The internal armor absorbed the shock, channeling forces around rather than through. This explains why the sealed chamber detected by the drone could have survived untouched, protected by the very design meant to withstand war, then locked in place by the cold, anoxic depths. Forensic teams debate the sequence. Did the scuttling charges open the way for the sea? Or did the torpedoes tip the balance first? The physical evidence supports a mixed cause, with both external and internal forces leaving their mark. But the citadel's preservation is beyond dispute. Within those armored walls, the past remains sealed off, waiting behind scars that tell the story of destruction and survival. 6,000 pounds per square inch presses against every centimeter of the Bismarck's steel, an environment so unforgiving that even modern submersibles risk collapse in seconds if a seal fails. At nearly 5,000 meters down, the wreck is locked in a state of suspended decay. The cold, dense water and lack of oxygen have preserved the battleship's armored core with a precision that defies time. Yet this same pressure, while halting rust and bacteria, also transforms the site into a potential environmental hazard. Decades after the guns fell silent, the Bismarck still holds tens of thousands of barrels of heavy fuel oil, trapped in double-bottom tanks and sealed compartments deep within the hull. Estimates suggest as much as 40,000 barrels remain, a volume that, if released, could coat the ocean floor for kilometers, smothering life in the abyss. Models run by oceanographers show that a sudden breach, whether from corrosion, seismic tremor, or careless intervention, could send dense plumes of oil crawling along the seabed. Unlike surface spills, this oil would move slowly, hugging the contours of the undersea volcano where the wreck rests, breaking down only over years as bacteria labor in the cold dark. The preservation that fascinates archaeologists is the same factor that magnifies risk. The steel armor, up to 320 millimeters thick in places, has resisted the ocean's chemistry for more than 80 years. But microfractures, scars left by torpedoes, scuttling charges, and the violent descent act as silent pathways for corrosion. Each year, just a fraction of a millimeter of metal is lost to the deep. It is a slow motion race, the hull's strength against the relentless gnaw of rusticles and rising global temperatures. As abyssal waters warm, even by half a degree, the pace of bacterial activity and chemical breakdown accelerates. For marine scientists, the Bismarck is a paradox. It is a laboratory of preservation and a ticking clock. Proposals for invasive exploration must weigh the risk of unleashing decades-old oil into a fragile ecosystem. Even a remote probe, if it disturbs a weakened seam or fractures a tank, could trigger a chain reaction impossible to contain at these depths. The question is no longer just about what secrets the sealed chamber might hold, but what price the world could pay for opening it. The ethics of deep-sea archaeology collide with the realities of climate, chemistry, and loss, forcing every decision to balance curiosity against consequence. Stories about the Bismarck's wreck have always attracted more than just historians and engineers. In recent years, a wave of viral videos and online posts has claimed that new drone surveys picked up heat signatures, coded signals, or even strange chemical traces inside a sealed chamber. Some stories describe Morse code pulses echoing through the hull, or batteries that somehow survived 8 decades under crushing pressure. When engineers and physicists examine the actual data, the picture is much less sensational and far more revealing about the limits of both technology and myth. At nearly 4,800 meters down, the Bismarck is locked in a world where temperatures hover just above freezing, and oxygen is almost non-existent. Any electrical system on board, batteries, lights, radios, would have failed within days of sinking. The chemistry is unforgiving. and pressure ruptures casings. Seawater corrodes metal, and even the most advanced batteries from the 1940s would have dissolved long before the first remotely operated vehicle reached the site. Modern drone sensors, including thermal imagers and acoustic arrays, confirm the reality. The only warmth detected comes from the slow oxidation of oil trapped in tanks, measured in fractions of a degree, far below the threshold for any living or powered system. As for the alleged signals, the truth is buried in physics. The Bismarck's steel hull, warped by impact and decades of slow decay, acts like a giant tuning fork. Ocean currents set the metal groaning, and sonar pings bounce chaotically through empty compartments. Sometimes echoes repeat in patterns that sound almost intentional, staccato bursts or rhythmic pulses, but detailed analysis reveals they are nothing more than multipath reflections and background noise. No Morse code, no distress calls, and certainly no evidence of hidden survivors or secret devices. Engineers reviewing the 2025 drone logs found no anomalies beyond the expected groans and reverberations. Battery life, even with the most optimistic chemistry, cannot stretch past 5 years in seawater at this depth. Viral claims collapse under scrutiny and are replaced by the stark beauty of real data, a ship preserved by pressure and cold, not by secrets or science fiction. For those who crave real mysteries, the Bismarck delivers, just not the kind that trend on social media. Scans from the Asterion 3 drone leave little doubt. The Bismarck's destruction was not the work of a single hand. Hull scars from torpedoes run jagged and uneven, while symmetrical blast marks near the citadel align with the placement of German scuttling charges. Each pattern confirms what survivor testimonies and battle logs long suggested. Forensic teams, working from digital models and metallurgical data, now agree both British torpedoes and German explosives shaped the final moments of the ship. The evidence converges in steel and silence, not in legend. Yet even as the physical story comes into focus, a deeper dilemma remains. The sealed chamber, untouched for 84 years, stands as both an archaeological prize and a potential Pandora's box. The Bismarck is recognized under the 2001 UNESCO Convention as a protected site, a war grave where in situ preservation is the guiding principle. Rule 1 calls for leaving such sites undisturbed unless there is a clear and significant contribution to knowledge or protection. Rule 5 insists on special care for human remains, and the Bismarck's full crew manifest, over 2,000 names, underscores the cost of intrusion. The debate is not just academic. Entering the chamber, even with a remote drone, risks breaching a delicate equilibrium. Disturbing the hull could trigger oil leaks from tanks that may still hold up to 40,000 barrels, threatening the deep-sea ecosystem. There is also the chance that opening a sealed compartment might accelerate structural collapse, erasing evidence preserved by cold and pressure. Against these dangers stands the promise of discovery, original documents, technical artifacts, or engineering details lost to history, all potentially locked away since 1941. Descendants of the crew, historians, and marine scientists each weigh the matrix differently. Some urge caution, seeing the Bismarck as a grave deserving of respect, not excavation. Others argue for careful entry, believing the lessons of the past are too important to leave entombed. UNESCO guidelines offer a framework, but no easy answers. The decision now rests not with any one nation or institution, but with a global community, each person, each viewer, invited to weigh the risks and rewards for themselves. What do you think? Should the sealed chamber remain untouched, or is it time to look inside? Add your voice in the comments below, and if the mysteries of the deep move you, subscribe for more journeys into the unknown. the Bismarck story is far from over. Its final secret waits in the dark, asking not just what we can learn, but what we are willing to risk to learn it. Today, the Bismarck's sealed chambers remain untouched, preserved by pressures that outmatch any submarine, and shielded by the ocean's silence. As technology advances, the urge to unlock these deep secrets grows. But every probe risks disturbing a grave and accelerating decay. In the end, what we choose to reveal or to protect will define how history survives beneath our deepest frontiers. Share your thoughts below.